I didn't really want to be taken from my home in the Highlands. I wanted to stay where I felt comfortable, close to the ground, where I could stand and graze among the grasses and smell the sweet, fresh air of Scotland. My wide nose could really breathe in a lot of air, and even though my shaggy bangs covered my eyes, when I looked up, I could see the rolling green hills and the white sheep dotting them. But I had to go. They just took me when they went home back to Citrus Heights, California, where it was hot and dry. I had no choice. They told me I would meet new friends and that there was grass to graze on there too. There will be some nice, tender grass for you to graze on in Citrus Heights. I really don't know if I want to go. And wee beasties to keep you company. Do I have to say farewell to my bonny Scotland? As I try to acclimate myself to my new life, I probably won't be able to stop thinking about how much I love my old home. I hope you'll be patient with me when I try to describe some places or things that happened that I can still remember. Right now, I'm kind of lonely because I'm not with my herd. But maybe I'll be able to make some new friends. Thanks for listening. You are actually my first new friends in this new country, so far, far away from the home that I love. The lady that picked me up in Scotland gave me a nickname right away. She called me Cooty-Coo. Now she probably got that because I am a cow that originated in the Highlands of Scotland. In Scotland, they pronounce cow as coo. When she said my name, it came down Cootie instead of cutie because she clenched her teeth and screwed her lips into a kind of kiss. Maybe she thought of her name for me as a term of endearment because I could tell she really liked me. But I don't really know why. To soothe myself, I would think about some of my old favorite places in Scotland. I used to visit the grounds of Dunrobin Castle and graze on the soft green grasses in their magnificent gardens. I had some distant relatives, earls and dukes, and this was their historic home. When I visited there, trying to trace down some family history, they wouldn't let us inside. But one time, one of the visitor guides left a door open where I was grazing outside, and I took the opportunity to go inside and take these pictures with my camera. Of course it wasn't a real camera. A cow doesn't take pictures with a camera. These are the pictures I have inside my head, and they will never fade or get lost or tattered. Another favorite place I liked to graze was at the fairy pools in the Isle of Skye. It was so lovely that some of the pictures I took in my head actually turned into moving pictures. Now, I think that could have been caused by the fairies who glinted around in the sun and dived into the pools to refresh themselves. Here is a picture of me to show how cute we really are. I am smaller than most cows in America, so it makes people think, what a cute pet I would make. When we finally arrived at the lady's home in California, the first being I met was Kusa, the elephant. He stayed quiet and sort of hidden, and I was allocated to his area. Sometimes I would get to go on the lawn and graze, but unfortunately it had been a very hot summer and Bermuda grass had taken over, and it was only rarely that I found a tender blade of grass. Then I was returned to be with Kusa. He was very quiet. Once in a while, I would try to strike up a conversation, telling him I was originally from Scotland and about the cool weather there. Usually he said nothing. Then one day, he opened his big gray eyes and said, "I am from Africa. An elephant never forgets. Many, many years ago, some people saw me. They were with the circus and were looking for new recruits. Even though I lived in the wild and didn't know how to stand on an overturned bucket or jump through hoops, they wanted me. They said, 'He can just stand there. He is so magnificent, he takes your breath away.' They didn't ask my agreement. They just took me. They shipped me to Florida, where I officially joined the circus and performed for many years until they finally closed all circuses down due to cruelty to animals. Yes, there was cruelty, long and arduous training, riddled with whippings, chained in a train car while traveling miles to the next town. But there were what you might call regular meals, and at the height of my career, the crowds roared and the girls fawned over me, riding on my back, caressing me, and feeding me peanuts. But now, you see that I have sagged. My gray skin is like crepe paper, and I am not the Adonis I once was. After the circuses were closed down, I went into forced retirement. But I was lucky enough to run into a few other lost circus souls, and we traveled around together smelling the flowers. Please excuse me. I didn't mean to lay this trip on you. It's just that there's so much inside of me that's wanting to come out, and I've been so lonely." And then Kusa burst into tears. I was embarrassed. I had never seen a man cry like that. He was sobbing. I tried to pull myself together and be somewhat compassionate. I said, "That's okay. Maybe we can share some of our memories." And I gave him a gentle nudge with my nose. Kusa had really gotten emotional during our exchange, and that got me to thinking, maybe I had just been feeling too sorry for myself. For one thing, I was kidnapped right before I might have been selected to become a fine steak. No matter how much I loved roaming free in the grassy hills, the powers that be could have swooped down and sent me to the slaughterhouse. Our breed is known for its fine taste, wonderful texture, high protein content, and less cholesterol than other brands. And our steak is extremely expensive. But this is nothing for me to be proud of. I would make no money, never see the green hills again, and would have to succumb to a brutal and violent death. It gives me the chills to think about it. The elderly, white-haired lady who kidnapped me from Scotland and smuggled me to Citrus Heights lives with her son, Steve, and his wife, Marie, and Davin, their 14-year-old son. We never see Davin because he's always playing basketball. Guess what? They are devoted vegans. And that means I don't think they are planning on eating me. Thank the Lord. They just seem to want me to play with and be patient with their dogs and not to poop in the center of their backyard. Right now, I am just trying to be on my best behavior. I try not to bawl in the middle of the night, and I move slowly to keep cool. My fluffy coat and long hair is made for the cold winters of the Highlands, not this oven. Marie is pretty nice. She's naturally good with animals, and she read up on me, and now she feeds me turnips and other vegetable leftovers. When she's home, she's always cooking, and my nose twitches when smells float out from their kitchen. The next time Kusa and I were alone together, I decided to ask Kusa a question that maybe would start up a conversation. Kusa, do you have any memories from your earliest days that give you joy to think about? Again, Kusa was quiet for a long time, and then he gave a huge sigh. I remember when I was very young, the whole family found our way to a watering hole in the middle of the jungle, and my mom and dad taught me how to spray water out of my trunk, and we all had fun spraying each other. Oh, I can't stand it anymore. I am so angry. They took me away from the water and my mom, and all of a sudden, Kusa roared, the loudest and most painful sound I have ever heard, and ran for the front door of the house, smashed through it, and lumbered his way out to the street, where he overturned several cars. Havoc ensued. The police were called, and Kusa was taken away once again. I was shivering and shaking, terrified and distressed. I heard Steve talking to Marie. Kusa's behind bars, destructive behavior. Well, you are going to have to get him out. Let's get a lawyer, a psych evaluation right away, Marie insisted. Steve replied, "He's not even real. He's just a toy." Marie yelled, "They don't know that. Nobody knows what's real and what's not." A deep silence fell over them. Finally, Steve said, "I am going to go down to the station and see what I can do. I'm so embarrassed, but I think I'd better take Cooty-Coo with me because I think she may be our star witness." Between that terrible day and the day of the court case, I spent a lot of time alone. I can only imagine how much Kusa is suffering. I can hardly eat. And sometimes, to soothe myself, I try to remember my old home. I am getting a very strong image of the Highland heather and can remember burying my nose in it. Sweet. With a start, I remember that Kusa's trial is only a few days away. I am getting very nervous. I am to be the star witness. Steve was very reassuring on the day of the trial. He said, "Don't worry, I'll have you right here in my hand." Plus, they had gotten a good lawyer for Kusa and a psychiatrist who would be taking the stand. Steve and Marie had really done their homework in support of Kusa, and I was very grateful to them on his behalf and my own. I had never seen a human stand up and fight for our rights. Usually, it was just about how they could use us for their own survival, gain, or entertainment. When it was my turn to take the stand, Steve went up with me and leaned against the back of my chair. This was allowed because according to their system, I'm not really real. I could see Kusa sitting with his lawyer, his head bent low and his trunk limp on the table. I was so scared at first, but as I told of my experience with Kusa and what Kusa had told me about his life, I could feel the jury leaning forward and really beginning to listen. I spoke from my heart as I described his suffering and maltreatment at the hands of others, and how he had always tried to humbly cooperate, and how after many years he cracked. When I finished, I could see my old lady sitting in the audience, her face beaming. She was so proud of me. After much deliberation, the judge spoke. There is no way these irresponsible and destructive actions can be forgiven. We must respect one another's personal property. But more importantly, we must learn to honor the rights of the individual to live his own life and be free. Kusa, to pay for your misdeeds, you must do 2 years of community service and be under supervised house arrest. We'll be keeping an eye on you. No jail, no execution. I breathed a huge sigh of relief and clapped with everyone else. My mind flashed back to long ago when my Scottish countrymen fought for their freedom. I could hardly wait till Kusa and I were back together again, where we could share memories of our pasts and plan our bright and brilliant futures. Gradually, Kusa was able to heal his wounds and let some of the old painful memories go and still find joy in some of his happier memories from the past. A big part of the change was because Cooty-Coo was such a good listener, and Kusa began to trust her and share his feelings with her. As time passed, they realized they had become great friends.